Lego Master today, bringing you guys a little video here on my first PC build. It's crazy. It's only $300, so let's get into the build. So I know what you guys are thinking. So this is the build that you're talking about? Some 2005 compact Presario SR 2011 WM. It only has Windows XP and Intel Celeron T. An ATI GPU is going to be able to handle the games of today? Well, no. If I told you that, then I'd be a liar. In this case, I'm not. So all I can say is underneath this hideous exterior, which I mean isn't that bad for a build like this, because I actually like it a lot. It's really retro. There is something very unique in there. We're going to take a look at that. Now for the power supply, now you gotta remember that this is the heart of the build. Like, yeah, if you do buy a case and it does come with a power supply, by all means use it if you really don't have the money. But at the end of the day, this is the heart of your build. I did read a lot of forums and I did post some stuff on Google Plus asking, should I just use the same power supply that came with the old stock version of the compact Presario? And they're like, no man, it might die, and if the PSU dies, the power supply, if it dies, then it's most likely going to take something with it. That could mean your motherboard, that could mean your CPU, your RAM, your fan, your hard drive, these vital things that you put into your build. If that PSU shuts down for whatever reason, it may just take even your graphics card with it, and that's not something you want to do. So I highly recommend you get a name brand power supply like a EVGA 450 watt bronze. Make sure it has a rating of bronze, gold, or whatever, but the lowest you want to go is bronze, because that is really good. Don't go for the white, I think it is what it is. Go for the bronze. That is really the best top-notch quality power supply you want to get. And the most you need is at least 450 watts. But again, you want to kind of calculate like online. Make sure you go on like Google and you type in like how many watts does a 470 use, or how many watts does a 1050 use. And that's another thing with this build. You can either go with a NVIDIA or Radeon graphics card. Doesn't really matter. NVIDIAs tend to use less power, so if you want to do that, then that may cut your power bill in half. I'm not exactly sure, but Radeon is just as good. So just do your research. It's not up to me. I'm just telling you like what I did and what works for me. So yeah, but I would recommend going with a high-end power supply brand, like a name brand. So don't go with some cheap no name brand, and maybe just get rid of that power supply that did come with the case. And if you don't need it because like you're listening to my advice, just try to find a case that doesn't even come with a power supply. That's like $20 or something, that's a Rosewill or whatever, because you really don't want to use like those stock generic power supplies. Now for the processor, we went with the i5-2500. This is probably one of the most iconic CPUs from like 2011. And yeah, you can say this is a pretty old processor, but when it comes to today's games, it really does handle games really great at 1080p, high to ultra settings. We're talking like 60 to 80 FPS, sometimes even going up to 100 FPS on high settings on Battlefield 1, 1080p. It's fantastic. Looks a lot better than the Xbox, I can tell you that for sure. And even though something is old, it doesn't really mean that it can't do what the new dogs can do. Like, yeah, if you did have like a 5500 6500 i5 quad core processor, you'd probably get like 120 frames, but you don't really need that. And the fact that this is only $300 really goes into par with what we're trying to do, is try to game out a budget and try to get the most out of our graphics card and processor at the same time. And that's why I would go with this processor. And the motherboard we chose was a DX SW something. I guess I'll have it on screen what it is. And yeah, that goes with this CPU. And the best part about this is that if you don't want to go with the 2500, by all means you can go ahead and get the 3500, so you can automatically get a little bit more better performance. I'd say maybe 10, 20 frames more, maybe 15 frames more than the i5 2500, which is pretty amazing that you literally could keep this processor and then switch to the 3500 if you wanted to, or just go straight into the 3500 with this motherboard. Again, links will be in the description. And yeah, now for this motherboard, CPU and RAM, not the HyperX Fury RAM, but it did come with like some standard Samsung 4 gigs of RAM that was really crappy. It had like 900 megahertz of RAM usage, so it wasn't really that great. I picked it up for around $80 for just the motherboard, the RAM, and the CPU with the heatsink fan and the I/O shield as well for only $80 on eBay. Again, you really gotta look around on eBay. If you already have a case like we had in this video, the compact Presario, it was one of these like computers that literally was just sitting around in my house. My uncle didn't want it, so I took it because I knew, someday this might come in handy for me. And the original build for this case was actually pretty awesome. I mean, something from like 2005 was able to boot up in like literally 15 seconds, and it didn't have an SSD. It was only running Windows XP. So I thought that was pretty crazy. I don't know what was up with that. But yeah, so I used the case. I really like it. It has that little stand or whatever. And so again, like if you already have a case and you don't want to pay the extra $30, $80, $100 for your case because you don't really care about it. I mean, in the long run, guys, you're not going to be looking at your case the entire time you game. Yeah, when people come over, they're like, oh my gosh, amazing, dude. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a computer, and who cares what it looks like? You just gotta remember that this is all about budget. At least at $300. If we're going $600, then yeah, we'll literally spend $100 on a case. But for $300, this is a really good steal, especially if grandma has that really old like dinosaur PC, and you're like, hey grandma, can I just like tear it apart and use the case? And she's like, okay. And then let's say, I mean, she needs like a newer computer, and you live with your grandma or your aunt or your family, and you just want to build a faster computer for your family to use, then yeah, by all means use that case and use it to the highest potential and just reuse it. Don't throw it away. These things are pretty expensive, and I mean, yeah, you could spend like $30, and I will leave a link in the description for a case if you don't have one, because they're only like $30 on eBay and Amazon, and they literally come with like a power supply, so that's cool. So for the GPU, we went with the RX 470, and the reason being for that is because the price was absolutely phenomenal. It was like at $150 off eBay, and that's what you gotta make sure you do, is that you don't just go and buy from Newegg or Amazon or eBay. You gotta really research what graphics card you really want for the price that you want, the budget that you can pay for. That's why what I ended up doing is I saw Newegg, okay, it's $180, but when I went on eBay and I searched the exact same GPU that same day that I saw it for $180, it turned out that the GPU was like $150 off Newegg from eBay. They were selling it on eBay. Newegg was selling on eBay. I bought it from them, and I was even able to use the rebate, which ended literally 2 days after I purchased that GPU from eBay. So that's what you got to really watch out for. Mainly just use eBay because you're going to save a lot of money, and it was brand new because it's from Newegg. I didn't buy it used from them, so yeah. So for the HDD, we went with the 7,200 RPM Western Digital green saving hard drive thing. It was like, it's a green one, okay. It's probably not the best one you want to pick up. You mainly want to go for like the black Western Digital or blue Western Digital hard drive. Like literally you'll have like a blue or black sticker on it, and that's which one you know to pick. And one thing you gotta look out for is like the highest cache. So make sure it's 64 megabytes of cache. This one that we got was only 32 megabytes, but that's still fine. It doesn't really matter. 100%, like what the cache is, but I guess if you're gonna do a lot of recording, go for the highest one, which is like 64. But if you really don't care, I mean, I've been recording with 32 megabytes of cache, so you can really judge from just the videos themselves, the gameplay that I've been posting on YouTube, that's Battlefield related since like last month pretty much. That is all from a 32 megabyte cache drive, and we only got this thing for literally like $25, and it was refurbished off eBay. So make sure when you're gonna buy a hard drive, you get one that has the lowest amount of hours used. This one had 0 hours, so make sure you try to get like one that is refurbished that has 0 hours. You gotta really look hard on eBay. Like, this is something where you really have to go deep into research. You can't skip a beat. You can't just go, oh man, I'm so sick of this, I'll just pay 35 bucks for that hard drive, and it has like what, 400 hours on it, and you didn't really pay attention to the listing and the description. You really got to read the descriptions. You got to ask the questions you got to need, especially if it's like a $15 hard drive and it's a 1 terabyte, and he doesn't tell you how much the cache is because you can't even see in the pictures, so you got to ask the seller. So that's what I would do if you're looking around eBay. Make sure you get one that has the lowest hours or 0 hours refurbished from the factory, like the one I got, which I got really lucky, only 25 bucks. So I'll leave a link in the description for that if I can find that listing again. So yeah, and that's mainly it. Our total was literally around like $301. That's just with the hard drive, CPU, motherboard combo. The CPU and motherboard combo that I found on eBay for only 80 bucks. The RAM was only $46.78 off Amazon. The HyperX Fury 8 gigabytes of RAM. But again, you could even cut that in half and literally get a 4 gigabyte of RAM for literally like 30 bucks, $25 off Amazon or eBay. And you'd only pay, 25 bucks for it. And then, what was it? The power supply was like 35 bucks on Amazon, but I ended up paying like $40 for it. And then the GPU, 150 bucks, but we got a rebate, so minus 20, we really only paid like 90, 80, like $281 really. So that still gives you more space to literally buy like a keyboard and mouse combo that I got for like 20 bucks off Amazon, and it's all right. It gets the job done, but if you can spend more on the keyboard and mouse, that's good. But for a budget, this is going to get the job done. And you got to remember, like, the most important thing about a build is that you don't want to be using your television. You really want to go for a monitor. So I went with a Samsung monitor, and I'm not going to include the price with this build. The $300 build is what this YouTube video is about. So that's how much you would spend on the build, but these are just extra things like the keyboard and mouse, and of course the monitor. The monitor, I only spent like 50 bucks on eBay, and it was literally like $100, $125 monitor on Amazon and stuff. And even some listings on eBay were showing it 100 bucks. So I got it for $50, but it did have a slight little crack in the middle, but that's nothing that crazy. And yeah, so that's mainly it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe. I put a lot of hours into this video, and I've been dying to upload it to YouTube because I've been dreaming of making a gaming PC all my life, literally. And I'm just really happy to share it with you guys. My first ever build. And yeah, so do mind, the way I edited the videos. I was kind of rushing it. By rush, I mean like literally spend like 3 hours on it just right away. Like, I'm really tired, and I wanted to work on this, and I could have worked on it like when I wanted to work on it, like tomorrow or whatever, but I just really want to get this on YouTube. So again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe, and be expecting more builds in the future. Of course, nothing like a physical build, but definitely like something where I compile a bunch of websites to kind of tell you what kind of PC you should build. So yeah, again, hope you guys enjoy, and thanks for watching.